All right, welcome everybody. This is the Stacks Governance Working Group call 70 already. That's a bigger number, even though I guess we've been here all along. It's a bigger number than expected somehow. But it's beautiful to see all these folks here with us. We can get right into stand-ups. See what folks have been working on. You know, if it's related to governance, slightly related to governance. I know there's a lot of exciting SIP residencies underway and SIP processes that are being seriously thought about in terms of accessibility and things like this. So maybe we can get into some of this or other things folks have in mind. I'll hold my stand up until we get a few people going, but leave the floor open. It's good to see you guys.
I can start. Of course, I wanna thank Hero for all the work that he's been doing with us and his residency application in the SIP process. You know, even before he applied to be a resident, so I'm grateful for that. And I wish you all the best, dude, and hope that this gets accepted. I know that you're anxious about it. But with that out of the way, I can get into something that I've been working on recently. It's a smart contract that it's the project itself is called Gratitude Network. The smart contract is called Kindness Protocol, but just called Gratitude Network. The basic idea has been influenced by the idea of non-transferable NFTs, and the SourceGrid graph, sort of network shape, the SourceGrid graph, where someone might do something and other people might be grateful for that thing. So with that introduction out of the way, the basic idea, Kara, can you give me like permission to share my screen? I don't know if you're the host. I think you can find it in security. You can allow people to share screen. I don't know.
Let me know if it works for you.
Did you change anything?
Yes, I tried to go into security and change the share screen setting. Anything?
Should have like a tick next to it.
Yeah, it says allow participants to share screen, and it's ticked off. Maybe.
Can you try again?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You don't have to try again. You have to stop sharing your screen first.
Oh, that's right. Okay, beautiful.
Yeah, that's on me. Okay. Yeah, that works. So, I know this is like code, but basically the idea is Alice creates this gratitude like node in the network that goes to Bob, and this is an NFT, and Bob can be grateful for himself, for example, and maybe Charlie can be grateful for G1, which is the gratitude that Alice just sent to Bob, and so on. You know, you can have up to a third level where Alice can be, for for example, grateful for the gratitude that that Charlie has expressed for her gratitude, and that's basically how the network works. So if we combine all of this, Alice is grateful for Charlie's gratitude, which is grateful for Alice's gratitude for Bob. And that's how the network works. And since Alice connects to Bob that way, and Charlie connects to Alice this way, and Charlie and Alice connect to Bob through the parent NFT, then you have this whole network. So this is something I've been working on right now. It's also like part of like a research project of mine to try and build more usable non-transferable NFTs, at least in the theory and structure. But that's about it. That's what I've been working on for now. I might be able to deliver something by 2 weeks, and at the same time we will be, I think, Harold and I optionally everybody else, of course, with Jenny on the scaling up of the Apex community. But that's about it. That's me.
Whoa, bro, that looks amazing. Just for clarity too, that I understand, there's like some almost like dialogue-like effect. Is it in the signing, the transaction?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that, because it connects to how Dada also works, but not in the same way, because Dada has like an infinite layers. With my implementation, it's like just 3 layers. It's almost like a conversation. Yes, definitely. The way this might extend is something similar to what how the Dada platform works. For reference, Dada is where people can do drawings and other people can attach drawings to the end of that drawing. So it's like all these connected images, and you can see it like draw this beautiful bigger picture through a art conversation. So it's definitely inspired by how Dada implemented their platform. Yes.
That's beautiful, man. It's exciting on all those levels then too. But yeah, particularly the ability to have a dialogue through NFTs, and for that dialogue to be able to scale out like that in the network, like you're describing, it's really exciting. A big part of how, a lot of us here have been in meetings where we've been discussing the hope of something like this for some time now, and as it relates to some of the things that we're doing in code of conduct and things like this, it gets really exciting to see how this is going to shape up. So thank you kindly for working so hard on it, man. Yeah, I'll save some of my excitement to see what other folks get to say. Juliet, I think you came in right as Haz was missing, but
I'm just going to answer Ryder's question. Whether that these non-transferable NFTs would have governance value or not is outside the scope of this project. I think it might, but we don't have like any plans for that. Also, it's definitely like an area of research, not to like build something similar to like social credit weighted governance, which is of course like against how we work. And these are not soul-bound tokens. Soul-bound tokens are bound to an identity, Juliet. These are they have a many-to-one relationship where there are many non-transferable NFTs or NT-NFT to one identity. No, the identity is a stacks address. Whether the graph itself or the network itself, the node that represents a person is a stacks address. And the nodes that represent gratitude or value presented to somebody is the gratitude, the NFT, the NT NFT.
This is so cool. And I think it might be above my head, but I'm going to ask on top of that question. So the identity or the stacks address represents like the collective gratitude that was shared between all those people involved?
No, all the gratitude, I think, is the network. What you were speaking about is the network itself. But the address is just like any stacks address that holds stacks, or think of it as a any kind of blockchain address that holds the gratitude that is expressed to one person. As any account might hold NFTs. I don't know if it can rip all wolves, Juliet. To be honest, it's just a simple project where people might upload images and link them to an NT NFT and just send them to people they're grateful for. Basically, it can be like love letters or props, if you think about it. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you kindly, Mai. This beautiful overview of what you've been working on so far, understanding that it's still pretty early, but it's exciting stuff to get us salivating over. But yeah, I'll leave the floor open if there's any other questions or comments for folks concerning this. But yeah, it's exciting, man. Thank you kindly for sharing. But yeah, let's move on. I know there's other folks here that have some exciting stand-ups for us. Yeah, we'll leave the floor open. Hiro, it'd be good to hear about some of what's been going on in the SIP meetings, and or if anybody else can speak to this, along with we're excited for the residency, as I said earlier by Haas. We know the presentation had to have went well for those of us who couldn't make it, but it's good to see all the support in the GitHub as well. I think one of the most supported I've seen. So it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, we'll leave the floor open.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for supporting my recent SIP shields. Yeah, so that's in progress and that appears to be going okay. I wasn't quite sure about today's presentation, but I think maybe it went okay. But I guess the relevance to governance here is essentially that SIP is about the governance process of the protocol and how the new idea gets voiced and gets put through the rigorous and inclusive process of the stacks improvement process. So there will be governance related stuff. I think even well, code of conduct is also part of it. So I'm sure Julia has a lot to say about that. That's part of governance as well. and CAPS will be part of SIP process as well. So one of my tasks is to assist Jenny in recruiting the CAP members, and there will be like SIP editors and stuff. So people who perhaps can also work alongside me doing similar things to what I do and be able to support the whole process and updating the community on this part of the ecosystem, because this part of the ecosystem is not very well known. In fact, I'll give you an anecdotal comment. I asked somebody in the NFT community today, do you use GitHub? And the person replied, no, what is that, mate? And the next question from him was, is that like Discord? So it kind of just show like the amount of people that are not aware GitHub, or, you know, if they don't know GitHub, how do they know the development process? And, you know, they only get to vote at the end. And maybe that's what they need, but people need to be informed, even if they don't care, right? So I think that's where I can come in and help increase the awareness of the protocol development, increase the participation of the protocol development, and essentially is a way for people to jump on the Stacks forum and comment their thoughts. If somebody wants to change the token subsidies or emissions of the Stacks, or increases total supply of Stacks, people should be able to say no or yes, or comments about that, or mining decentralization. Everything is part of the Stacks improvement process. Or if you want to change your Stacks a SIP process, or if you want to change the governance, how we review these SIPs, that can also be part of the governance SIP process. So yeah, that's what I hope to assist with the foundation. We'll probably know by the end of next week, to be honest. So nothing else is certain right now. So yeah, that's that side of thing. Yeah, I mean.
Well, thank you kindly, man. This is all exciting, and you know, just to hear you go into it at that level, it's a lot to look forward to, right? In terms of a solid foundation, and seriously thinking about accessibility for the SIPs process, and you know, all the inroads into governance, and you know, seeing your recent comments too in these threads around, you know, plugging into advocates when possible. So it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
I think you know, not just the SIP process, but different areas of the community, Hero could all leverage Stacks advocates as part of the communication or onboarding process, or support ecosystem. Yeah, that's the thought. Yeah, if somebody can help with certain tasks in Stacks Advocate with any SIP stuff, if they want to, they are really contributing directly to the core technology, which will be good to see. And the more contributors, little bit like you want more contributor to Stacks Advocate, yeah, on the Stacks SIPs front, I would love more contributors, tech people with coding experience or not, all can contribute. That's the task, I think.
Yeah,
and yeah, definitely think collab with Stacks Advocates, and also like governance. So maybe even leverage lots of things that we can leverage with each other, I think.
For sure. And yeah, I love the editing role alongside you that you have built into the application, as you say. You know, like I said, it seems like it's just a nice way to build a solid foundation of folks that potentially are all over the place like yourself, or at least have a knack or a passion for helping the community, as you will show a beautiful example for. So it's exciting to see this, Mike. But yeah, I'll leave the floor open if there's any points of clarity or questions for folks around this. But yeah, we can move on to more stand-ups if there are any. You guys can feel free to just unmute. And thank you kindly for your time so far. All right. Yeah, Haji almost threw me off with that Kenny name. But I see we have Crypto Derek. Welcome. This is an open space. Sorry if we have had you before and I'm just a new name. But yeah,
I'm just visiting on over from the City Coins community.
beautiful, beautiful. No, it's welcome to have you. It's still at the moment of stand-ups where folks are just giving us some updates of what they've been up to, and yeah, maybe I'll get into mine. So in Advocates over the last couple of weeks, we've been thinking seriously about a few issues that we can put through our own consensus flow and decision-making flows. There was an issue that set a good precedent for like a really fleshed out proposal for folks to sink their teeth into when it gets disseminated through the clans to be added to or modified in any needed way. And so we've been trying to do the due diligence for other important issues to go up along with the particular work from Juliet and Hero Gamer. And so this one of the issues is a little bit less dependent than the others on each other, especially for some of these first iterations of using our decision-making flows. And that's journeys, or what are our alternative to the grants program, or our version of community grants, where Haas has allowed us to build everything right into GitHub. Right into Discord, I should say, as opposed to GitHub. And we've tried to get some plain language around some of the tooling, leaving some of the smart contract language in the background, while still emphasizing important parts of flow folks should be aware of. Started to integrate the clan system design into that, both spec and some of the plain language and diagramming for this. We maybe get to some of the issues where there's links to some of these updates that I've recently put in this morning to all of this work. The other issues are around conflict resolution. That's the good precedent that I was mentioning earlier, where it's really fleshed out and thought about as opposed to an open-ended proposal. And the other issue is an oral code of conduct. And we've been thinking seriously about this for some time now and iterating on some of the importance of it, connecting it to both some of our native modes of organization, which bottom-up or horizontal system design, research, learnings, but also some of the learnings from Primavera de Filippi's blockchain research at Harvard, where she's emphasizing this in-between space or a legal space when thinking about legal frameworks. And Juliet's pointed out how important code of conducts are to DAO-like structures, right? And so, finding all of these overlaps have really opened our eyes to some of the advantages and disadvantages of conventional written code of conducts, and some of the advantages of and benefits of oral code of conduct. Some of those being a unique type of flexibility and modularity, but one of the biggest points of emphasis does overlap with Primavera's language around important in-between space. That, when thinking about legal structures and institutional structures that usually come with those legal structures, how do we protect community values and core community values from harm from even those institutional structures, right? And so the bridge work in between, organizing on our own terms of horizontal bottom-up systems design, regenerative commons-based system design, and then having on our own terms the bridge work to those legal institutional structures. And oral code of conduct can play a huge role there. We also touch on in the proposal some of the historical precedents and overlap with the Native Council that we're in dialogue with, that has international jurisprudence with an oral constitution or oral peace treaty, right? That's connected back to cosmologies, right? Their own terms, right? And is referenced in modern legislation, written law, right, of modern governments. But that oral legality still has to be recognized, is the only legal, it's the only thing legal, not anything written down, which can only be a memory of the oral processes, which is really this collective experience, right? Where given constitution or code of conduct can evolve based on the circumstances of the collective participating in that dialogue at that time about that particular law or code, right? And so, or collective values, right? So this is huge for a continuity of mind. It's huge for a point of reference in consensus processes, as opposed to just using opinions for consensus decision-making, to actually have a point of reference from your the core collective values of a community. But then also we've built in a more functional way these matrilineal protocols from the native dialogue that we're in, which is extremely important for scalability, right? And the historical precedents therein for scaling for whole nations, right? So as we continue to learn these protocols, to be able to use that as a point of reference and consensus is going to be huge as well, and something that is fairly unique to the dialogue we have with this particular council. Otherwise, you normally could only mention, right, dialogue with natives, but to actually have a functional protocol built into a code of conduct because of dialogue is something unique to when the protocols are still intact, right, which is a rare case. And so, yeah, those are some of the exciting things I'll shut up about and maybe get into a little bit more later if there's time. But this has been really exciting realizations over the last few weeks, and I'm really grateful for the dialogue from folks and the contributions to what are going to be the additions to our code of conduct. Vidit's starting to put together some symbolism, things like this that can help us through our oral recitals, which can begin to happen fairly consistently to engender this continuity of mind, right? And but yeah, I'll shut up.
Hey, I just wanted to jump in here, if that's okay.
Yes, please, please.
Excuse me, sorry about that. So we have a meeting set next week with the Women's Council. So pretty excited about that. Bringing some new people into the community, into the Women's Council. And I've been working on a one-pager to go with what the work that Hero Gamer and I originally did on the Code of Conduct conflict resolution flow. And I want to present that into the Women's Council as well as the rest of the advocates community, so that there's more information on the Code of Conduct conflict resolution flow. And yeah, I think that's about it. Just really excited about growing the number of folks and people that I identify as women in the advocates community and in the Stacks community, and bringing people into the Women's Council, and then going from there to work on consensus on some of the issues that we have before us that will go into the active issues. So excited about working on that process. And yeah, that's it for me.
Hey, beautiful. It's beautiful to hear, Juliet. Of course, those processes that you've been coordinating are extremely important to even getting some of these flows going, and extremely important to some of the points we make about ensuring the autonomy of both women's voices, the ecosystem's voices, and the beginnings of those type of structures actually existing. So it's no joke, the hard work you've been putting in there. So thank you kindly, and to everybody that's been working on that front. And it's exciting to hear. I think there's not too many blockers when it comes to some of these things and some of the merging of the things that you mentioned and what I mentioned. over the next couple of weeks. I think everything's in place for the tooling wise. I'm sure there can be some improvements maybe that come up through the actual usage, but hopefully it gets prettier and prettier. But there's potential blockers I can imagine is coordination. The hardcore coordination that you've been doing, Juliet, will also have to be done on the men's council side, and like you said, there can be even more and more people being brought in, even in these coordination processes, if they're not already in a clan designation. So those are some of the blockers to maybe reaching its highest potential anyway. But we're hoping that the tooling lends itself to time zones and things like this. But yes, I'm very excited too. Thank you kindly, Juliet. But yeah, we'll leave the floor open if there's any other updates from folks. All right, I think we're okay. I can start to get into some of these issues. I vaguely remember some more recent discussion around this. Was it Hero? Did I remember some recent discussion around the board nominations or some recent thinking, or was it you yourself, Juliet? This has been something important now for some time. I can't remember if I'm remembering in a Discord thread or a GitHub thread somewhere other than here, obviously. Or maybe it was here. Let me see.
Yeah, so because ever since I joined the governance working group, this meeting, that has always been there. And every time it gets raised, and there's no solution. So I wanted to just start trying to make a solution for it if it's important. Because the longer it goes unsolved, like no community is represented at any level in terms of the conversation. In the context of the conversation was about community representative and about the board seat. Essentially, my guess was just Stacks Foundation want to have some people in the community represented, so have the voice heard, right? But because this blocker, there has not been for a long time people represented on the official capacity, maybe due to the challenges of finding the right suitable group of people or candidate, I don't know. But my point is that I just wish that we can just get something together, no matter how scrappy it is, and just start having that bottom-up voice represented. And my proposed solution, essentially what's being written there, the whole big paragraph, is that we have a team of people. That team of people comes from different part of the ecosystem, whether it be Hero, whether it be Foundation, whether it be Stacks Advocate as well, and community, active community people, like people like Haley, who's across and has the pulse on so many different communities. And there are many people like that in Stacks. And the point is that have them represented from the perspective of this space. But I was tackling from the angle of Hero support as well. During last week when Megapon minted, the network went down. And when the network went down, the wallet doesn't work. And the wallet doesn't work, there is nobody from Hero to support. Same conversation for the past 4 or 5 times this year already. So I'm just really want to have something for it, so that the community doesn't have to suffer, or the community can be better communicated what's going on, and get proper support from Hero or Stacks Advocate people, like Uncle did. intrinsically. Yeah, so my solution was to propose an ecosystem team who can coordinate and communicate, amplify events, spot bottlenecks, spot challenges in the community, relay those messages back to Hero, the good and bad, relay those messages back to Foundation, good or bad. So everybody wins. That's the whole goal, and community get represented properly. So ecosystem, community leaders, support, I don't know what name it is, but just to get something together instead of being idle. And it will keep, if we don't talk about it, if we don't have a solution for it, it's gonna keep going on like this. And I just wish we can start taking one baby step forward, that's all. It's by no means the final setup, but I just want to try and push something so we take one step at a time to getting the final goal.
Yeah, no, this is beautiful, man. It's beautiful to hear all the passion in your voice about it as well, and your ability to connect all those different strings, right? And you know, it's beautiful too that I believe Juliet has been bringing a few folks from Hero and things like this into some of the Women's Council efforts and things like this. Some of the other people that you mentioned as well, they're important across these different entities. And you know, you mentioned the DAO, you know, structures of advocates as a potential place to ensure some of these you know, bottom-up efforts of voice and representation. It's a beautiful thing. I think Juliet has recently had some recent thoughts around this as well in terms of a DAO structure, and you know, the one along with others coordinating some of the cross-pollination in these of these entities. So I don't know, Juliet, do you have anything that comes to mind reading, you know, seeing some of these efforts from Hero, any guide rails, right, going forward with these first baby steps? I would say though, it's, even if it is baby steps, it's very comprehensive work that you've been, you know, doing so far, both in you know, moving around the ecosystem and you know, seriously thinking about, you know, how to connect these different things. So even if it's first steps, and you know, maybe we have some learnings from Juliet and from the Foundation and Hero still to come, it's still no joke what's already here, and what it can mean as a solid foundation going forward. But yeah.
Yeah, I just had something to add. But I was Hero Gamer. We were having a conversation, and I don't know if you were on that and the Purple Pill group on Twitter, but the conversation was brought up yet again about board nomination and having representatives on the board, and that
I didn't hear that part actually, no.
Okay, but this I think I'm reading your post here in more detail than I did before, and I see you've added some here. I really think this is something that, you know, we should be able to get behind, definitely in the advocates community. I don't see any reason why we can't start with, as you say, the Toyota first, and put together a group of folks who are interested in solving the issue, and start, you know, using this as a base to start meeting, and then some experiences that people across the community have had in working with the Stacks Foundation, whether myself as a community representative or other folks. I think we can get a lot of like minds who would like to see community representative, or not a representative, but community and community's voice being represented in the community. And so I love how you've really spelled this out. And so I think we can probably start, you know, getting a squad together to start addressing each of these issues and moving forward with it. That's just some thoughts that I have.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I think by having this, it's essentially benefiting everybody. I see it as a win-win, and actually, with or without Foundation's push, support, backing it, me and Sleepy are already communicating with Hero, like, because it's just been, even without knowing the community representation part, even if I never knew Stacks Advocate or working group existed, just from the side of the community that I see in Discord, we know there's a gap missing in terms of people needing support during wallet issue, which happens a lot actually, and then people are confused like what to do, and Hero is not there to fill the gap. So me and Sleepy already pushing for that anyways, but I think the more backing we have from different entities, the easier and beneficial it is for everybody as a whole, because we can leverage this group and help amplify the messages from Foundation, and also bridge some of the, and get, so everybody get closer with each other, rather than, oh, Foundation is here, community is there, oh, I don't know what to do, like, do we go there or they come here? Not sure. I think as this is something I'm also seeing, the hesitancy in the community a little bit sometimes. But yeah, I definitely would love to get more support, somebody representing the Foundation. So the action item is actually me and Sleepy. By the end of this week, we're gonna set up a group DM with Joe from Hero. He's like the most community-driven guy in Hero. So we had a meeting with him last week. We identified that. So I think he's a good person to have on our side. So Hero, Joe from Hero, me, Sleepy in the DM, maybe someone from the staff, from the Foundation would be nice, whoever that he may be. Also Drew Folkman, who developed the community tooling for, we had a call with him yesterday as well. So I think he's a good person to have on the panel, on the squad, because he basically liaises with the project builders, the NFT builders, owners. He is in touch with every community project, because every project uses, or more or less needs, some sort of tooling to manage community, and that's where he comes in. He plugs in his tooling to verify people's wallet and stuff like that. So I think we're gonna have 4 people already. So whoever would like to help us with this effort, just let us know. Yeah.
So I'm understanding you've already got this going. And
I already, because yeah, I have to, well, no, I have to, but I'm so fed up, Hero, not giving community support. Like, I don't even know when they're online. Like the last mempool blow up with Thursday, it wasn't even the weekend, and nobody went into Megapon to help, and it was only Uncle helping. It's just so unfair. So I was just quite fed up with this happening again. So I just wanted to take some actions. So I arranged a meeting with Joe based on his message in the community management message. Just trying to take the opportunity. It was a message about general community management. He was quite enthusiastic. So we tagged along our little idea to that call. So yeah, we already kind of got it going because I just couldn't wait. I was so fed up with the lack of urgency from Hero.
I do think, and I think Harold and Hawes can speak to this, is that it dovetails with some of the things that were mentioned recently with the advocates and the scaling up of the onboarding, and the idea of advocates doing some work similar to this. I think that there's bridges between what you're doing here and into the advocates, but I think someone else can speak to that. And I'm glad you're getting this going.
Yeah, for sure. This is beautiful to see. And yeah, you've named some beautiful some folks, that are, whether it's Drew or the other folks that you mentioned that are already, yeah, it's starting to, Joe is starting to make up a good multitude of representatives right across entities. And to some of Juliet's points, and I kind of touched on it earlier, some of the coordination that's already happening in the Women's Council front, right, might be able to lend itself to some of this as well. And maybe the bridge work is just leveraging the accessibility of voice in advocates to, as a reliable well to lodge these important issues in, right, knowing that it's going to get all the way through to being addressed, right, with a proposal or a position on how to go forward. If it's anything as comprehensive in terms of its iterations as what Hero is already putting together, it's kind of hard to ignore all of that work being done, right, and to not try to implement it. Definitely hard to ignore some of the support issues that you're speaking to, Hero, and to ignore the urgency, which is ultimately a good look, right? The urgency in your voice, the passion in Uncle's voice, is, I think, is only a positive thing when it comes to folks that actually care about the ecosystem. So it's going to be exciting to see how this fleshes out. But yeah, thank you, Conley, for getting so deep into this. I'm glad we still have it up here.
I haven't, this is something just kind of off the top of my head. Does anybody know, was Uncle compensated for coming in clutch like that? Did we give him some sort of award? Is that something we can do with advocates? Is that something we've done? Because that's there's this kind of lack of responsibility from the professional team, and that's too edgy the way I said it. But he filled in this gap that was really missing. And
Eric,
yeah. I'll shut up. Yeah.
Uncle has a grant for $12,000 for community support and bots. So he is being compensated. That's
Yeah, so he's
done.
developing this bot, and one of the reason, he was testing his bot at the same time. But yeah, so I think he's compensated for development of the wallet tooling, support tooling, not necessarily for helping and the servers itself. That's what I would say. But he was using the opportunity at the same time to helping test his bot. But I think with or without the bot project or the grant, he might have already helped out anyways. So as many other community members, like I have done previously, to help those people in need during those challenging times. But yeah, Uncle is definitely compensated for the grants perspective, for the bots and the website.
Cool. Yeah.
Here has a better explanation. Definitely.
Sweet. Yeah. Thanks. That explains that. I was thinking both at that specific level and then also in a broader way. So yeah, thanks for filling in that bit about the grant.
But you raise a good question, because if Uncle's grant didn't exist, who is there to? I mean, if Uncle didn't exist and he didn't have grant, he's not even there to help the community, right? During challenging times, who is there to help? We don't know, so we need to clarify that. My point to Hero was not make them work much more, is to help have conversation and coordination. If you tell me you're not going to be here during the weekend and Monday to Friday, you only can support 1 hour per day, okay, tell me. We will try to fill the gaps of the other 23 hours that the member could possibly blow up. That's just coordinate a little bit,
Beautifully. Yeah, that clear communication. So well said. Hero, and makes me again happy that you're doing the residency that you're doing.
Yeah, tell me
Great for
how
the
many
role.
hours you can have your man committed to support wallets. How many, like 30 minutes or 1 hour or 3 hours, 8
Yeah.
hours? I don't know. Tell me a number.
Yeah,
And
that,
then we can start to build support around the gaps that you cannot physically fill because of the resources constraints, right? Via advocates or via other places, is to get those conversation going and get things clarified and coordinated.
yeah, yeah, and it's really only the folks that do opt into doing that work that could even give us the details that you yourself and Uncle give us, or, in terms of the just how choppy that it got, right, or the intricacies of each case that comes up that you're dealing with, but also, like you're saying, that type of communication can lend itself to maybe a little bit of what Merrick was trying to speak to, which is addressing it beyond just Uncle or yourself or the other few people that have been contributing over the many times that this has occurred already, to have something designed into place, the support designed into place, and actually start coming together in something like the D work examples that Haas has been giving us, right? That Ryder originally brought up, I believe, in discussions with Jason. And recently has started to come into some of our task board, like user interface, possibly, right? As opposed to the journeys flow, to have a D work flow, but to have it maybe spelled out the hours that Hero is not available. Those hours are become available on a D work board, right? So I don't know. That just that type of communication could lend itself to the type of built-in support that you're speaking to, both Merrick and Hero. So yeah, thank you kindly for taking us down that road, Merrick.
Yeah, and I was also part of what was buzzing in my mind too was like what Haas was talking about with the gratitude token, and I know it's like alpha, pre-alpha, but like some sort of mechanism where like once we see someone has like come in clutch and like really filled in a gap, someone from the community, we have some sort of mechanism to like thank and reward that person with this gratitude token. That was still floating in my mind. I didn't like fully speak that out, but I'm glad for the whole path that we went down as well. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that work from Haas has me excited too, right? Especially like I'm interested in what the dialogue can look like. If it looks like some type of metadata in terms of strings or something like this attached to NFTs, or it's just the NFTs themselves, potentially, because it could be a means of starting to, have the tracking of these different flows, right? Not just in the form of NFTs, but it's something that is referencing the NFTs in terms of visualizations, and that type of gratitude to our uncle may have something else in response, right? In terms of not just gratitude to himself, but newfound confidence, or newfound skill, or newfound these type of things can be incorporated into that network as well. And yeah, it's exciting. We've been discussing for some time, so much appreciated, Haas. But yeah, I'll try to see what else we have to get through. I guess we spent some time on that. We're only up a couple more minutes in the hour. I added some links here to D-Work. Haas, what I just mentioned from Haas, and this is the work in progress from Hero Gamer, kind of putting into context that board as it relates to journeys, or how it doesn't relate to journeys. Speaking to extrinsic to intrinsic, as opposed to the other steps of journeys that are intrinsic right off the bat. But I think it does speak to some transformative potential in the models that we have so far. And so that's I don't know if anybody else wants to speak to this beyond what we already have. But thank you kindly, Ryder, for originally getting this up here, and some discussion around it. I think it's really important for alternative to GitHub and such. But yeah, I think it's some work from Jason. For folks who don't know, we have some more friendly interfaces than just GitHub, right? We have GitHub pages that Jason has set up some time ago. And this is just him playing with the themes, but other folks, this is him making sure other folks know that it's up for contributions as well. I think we just had a lot of discussion on the SIP stuff. Is there anything that anybody can update us on? We've been to some of the meetings around any decisions on SIPs coming down the pipeline and things like this that folks like the governance cab and things like this should be concerned about getting together on?
Yeah, I can probably speak to that because I've been working with about SIP and CAPs and stuff. So I think essentially that we are using Friday as an update for SIPs that are going on in the ecosystem. So Friday gives people an overview of what's going on, and every week there will be slightly different topic in addition to the general updating people. So tomorrow's topic will be about the Stacks 2.1 network upgrade, which Jude will talk a little bit more about. But if you have a SIP or anybody has a SIP, that's an opportunity to champion for your SIP as well. But in terms of the CAP, that's, I think, part of my future to-do list to recruit the CAP members, or if people know who are suitable for CAPs or want to be CAP, hopefully if I do get to be the SIP resident, that will be definitely one of my responsibilities to expand that element of the SIP process.
Yeah, thank you kindly. Yeah, I'm looking. I know we should have something to get together on, right, Juliet, with Jason as it comes to the governance cab. So yeah, I think we keeping our ears close to those Friday sessions, and yeah, I hope that it's a beautiful thing that your residency can cover expanding participation in this way.
Yeah, and I think in terms of the actual CAP reviews, like what does the CAP people need to do? I think that's also something for maybe the SIP resident to clarify and to coordinate, I think.
Yeah, we can help you with that as well. It's something that myself, Juliet, and Jason, thought we'd be able to lend ourselves to as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I will be the SIP resident. I'll probably know next week, so I'll see. I don't want to speak too early.
All right.
Yeah, we all, Harold, Jason, and we came up with a protocol on evaluating the SIPs as part of the governance cab. And I know we provided that to Jenny, and I think it's posted on GitHub. So that may be something to be, maybe a starting point that we can help with.
Yeah. That'd be amazing. If you have the link, please send me so I can take a look in advance before I start. Prepare myself.
Yeah. Thank you, Connie, Juliet. But yeah, let's see. I know this has been here for some time now. Juliet, did you want to speak to this in any way? I know maybe it blends in with some of the SIP talk. I know you were looking at a SIP that maybe relates, or Jude had referenced a new type of SIP category potentially to advocates is relevant for this as well. But yeah, let us know. We have some recent comments. Yeah, Juliet, if you didn't have anything on this, it's okay. I see some recent comments, I guess, just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why it's not moving forward, which is the SIP for the Stacks Code of Conduct, is because there's so much happening in the SIPs arena right now with so many different proposed SIPs that are, and so I took a step back and was working on other things until we have a little more clarity of where things are going with the SIPs. And also then that gives me more time to work on the SIP, which, and also there's the issue about, which I think I mentioned in that link, is what type of category does it fall under? And it's essentially falls under, and Hero Gamer can address the specific categories, but it falls under that category where nobody has to do anything. It's just informational, which I don't think when you have a code of conduct is really an informational issue. And so I know there's been some discussion about adding new categories, and I don't think that's the right term, but Hero can probably address that.
Yeah, I don't know the ins and outs, but if I look at it from an outsider perspective, and just view it as a technology issue, it's almost like NFT. Like if you want to make a code of conduct law on NFT, who owns that NFT or who should give up NFT? I think the problem is some things are built into the codes that can be enforced, and anything outside of the core base code cannot be really enforced. Difficult. So I wonder whether it's because of that, therefore they generally speaking in the SIP improvement world, that people tend to categorize that as something not required, must follow kind of thing. It's more informational because you cannot enforce it to the people who are decentralized around the world. I don't know. That's my sort of guess.
Oh, no, thank you kindly for touching on this. I know Jude probably has the best grasp of, the ins and outs of the SIPs and things like this. So, but I know Hero, this may be something you come back to, and something we all
Yeah.
come back to once things get a little bit more sussed out with what's going on SIP wise. Who's going to be in that role, but especially is something as well. But I think we could be pretty confident. All the work you've been doing, Hero. But yes, thank you kindly for this. Then this other updates here, I try to update through the months for some time now. A July update here. It includes the one pager and diagram Hero and folks have been working on in our sessions weekly. The other proposals that we've been working on in the sessions weekly as well that are that can be added to. And I'm not sure how these are all going to be put through the consensus flow. I think Journeys is one that's fairly independent from these. If we wanted to start on that as soon as possible, I don't think there's too much blockers for this one. And I think that we should be good for coming weeks when it comes to some fleshed out proposals. So there's some updates there for folks if you guys are interested. Let me see. We had some good discussions on this recently. I don't know if anything's been added here, but we've had a session with Jenny and a lot of the folks here around next steps and thinking seriously about maybe some type of soft launch or launch of advocates, thinking seriously about how it grows and outward facing content flows and things like this. I don't know if anybody wanted to speak to this. We spoke to some of the DWork stuff, and I think a lot of us were in the meeting. So if there's anything lingering on folks' minds worth speaking to now, it'd be a good time. But yeah, maybe this could be a place where we update folks on where we are with this. I know we're thinking about incorporating Notion and maybe getting some work started on accompanying websites to that Notion for the flows, and some good ideas around the content that's important for folks to see right off the bat. Whether it's a board of some kind for point of accessibility of things that are already going on, or links to other goings on and advocates and so on and so forth. But yeah, we'll make sure to get this updated for next time, or use it for async work as well, in between getting together around it. But thank you kindly for everybody that made that meeting, staying up to date with what's going on. There's nothing here. We can move on. Thank you guys for the time. I know we're 10 minutes over. I think this is something we can skip. I think it's just good to have here. There's a link to a video now, I think with a timestamp, right where Jude starts to talk. A pretty intricate response to some of these broader concerns around mining. And there's community funding streams that we've spoken to before that we should really do some coordination with Philip. I know Hero, I've seen recently you did some reaching out. And so that's all we can do, is continue to try to reach out, get some specific understanding from Philip, and some maybe, getting Philip plugged into what we have going on with journeys and things like this can be of interest and of some type of resolution. Especially, Philip seems to be most concerned about long-term core builders in the ecosystem. We talk a lot about bounties through the task board stuff today. This is just cleanup from Jason. He likes us to skip these over with those labels. This here, there should be something soon. I had a meeting recently with folks that I've been trying to get a hold of since the beginning of the pandemic. But they're beautiful people that have worked in the Fab Academy network, the digital fabrication network at MIT. And there were some of the most exceptional students that we saw in the course. And so I had a really, really good session with them about some of our first steps in getting into what will likely be STEAM, or science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics approaches in education, alongside with some of the efforts from the Longhouse. Longhouse has had some inroads into K through 12 education in Canada for some time, which is no joke to be able to accomplish. And so hopefully that lends itself to some of this work, along with maybe some of our local efforts. But also the Longhouse has started to make some inroads into higher education as well, which I believe our work with this Concurrentis group will lend itself to as well, both K through 12 and higher education levels. But one of the way this relates to governance is through data, I believe. So I wanted to mention to Haas or other folks here. I think we lost Haas, but other folks here that may be interested. A big part of the governance lab, in addition to the advocates work, is thinking seriously about data management on the ground and governance on the ground. When it comes to particularly production, fabrication, distribution. And so we're thinking about this seriously in the next phases of the Gov Lab to finally be able to address some of the things here and relate it to governance, and be able to relate it back to models in the ecosystem for real world impact, right? But yeah, I'll shut up here. I know we're over time. And there's just a few things here. I think mostly backlogs. There can be always opportunity for fireside chats with the Longhouse, of course, but also now with these Concurrentis folks, Dada folks. And so we should always keep that in mind. We've gotten a couple of them done, but maybe this would be a place to update whenever we are coordinating some of these events the next time as well. But
Harold?
Yeah.
I'm curious, you brought up Concurrentis, and I'm curious what work you've done with them.
Well, this was our first session of been trying to get to meet them for some time now. But you know, it's I think really good, promising first session. Um, you know, discussing some of the background of the Longhouse, how, you know, just how we got to where we are with the GovLab. And, you know, I'm fairly familiar with their work in the Fab Academy. One of them is on the engineer side of things in a multidisciplined way. Another one is in the design side of things, but they met each other in those courses and done things like small scale machine building type stuff, worked together with case studies in Peru, with you know, indigenous nations and textiles fabrication, and thinking about it in a systems design way.
They're based in Peru, right?
Yeah, I think they're both in Lima. Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we haven't done anything yet, but this will be our first attempts together. But they've been a big inspiration to us in terms of packaging systems design, packaging interdisciplined approaches, you know, and packaging indigenous modes and SDGs and things like this.
Yeah, I researched them after you mentioned them in your white paper, pre-reviewed white paper, but I'm just happy to hear that you've made contact with them. So congratulations.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think it would be no joke in terms of being able to bring some of that digital fabrication upskilling, but you know, I think they're really aware and really excited about the blockchain implications too, the data implications and stuff like this. And so I think it'll, you know, potentially there'll be a good way to start to work with other experts in that realm as well right away, you know, and get them familiar with system design, because it's still a fairly rare thing in their space as well to get folks to really value a commons-based system design. So, you know, maybe this is, you know, something that we can help, you know, bring into the ecosystem as well, like these type of networks of folks. But yeah. Thank you, Connie, for the questions. But yeah, thank you, Connie, guys. You guys stayed over almost 20 minutes. And it's been a beautiful session as always, getting in deep to some of these things, caught up with everybody's at. And yeah, I can't thank you guys enough. All right, I guess I'll stop the recording.